Hey there, Hallmark Hot Takers, and welcome to the 22nd episode of Hallmark Hot Takes, where we are reviewing and rating all 23 Countdown to Christmas movies from the Hallmark Channel. According to...
Candy canes, 5 each out of a total of 10 candy canes.
Based on how well we liked or disliked this movie. So tonight we are going to be reviewing Christmas Comes Twice, starring Tamara Mowry Housley. Some of you might remember her from a little show called Sister, Sister, and Michael Xavier. So we're going to do the dreaded recap next.
A dreaded recap. An amazing recap.
An amazing recap. Okay, so let's recap this movie. So meet Cheryl, who is the executive director, top bureaucrat at the Federal Science Association.
That's a mouthful.
She has been working for the last 5 years. And she is going home to... I don't remember, someplace for Christmas. And Cheryl is a doer. She's always go, go, go. She works with giving science-y grants to people and funding.
One out of every 100.
Yes. So she's not really satisfied in her work, though, because she feels like she gave up her dream of being a top-rate astronomer to go work for the Institute. So she goes back home, and she's lamenting the day that she met her boss.
She has like a bag of regrets.
Yeah. So she's like lamenting the day that she met her boss, which she did at this Christmas carnival back in her hometown. And
5 years ago.
Right. So she wonders aloud, what would it have been like if she had never taken that job? Well, let me tell you what happens. She goes back in time.
How does she go back in time?
At the Christmas carnival, there is a carousel, which she just goes for a whirl on, and then comes back and realizes...
Back
to the past.
To the past.
It's another time travel movie.
Yes, it is.
So, meanwhile, her sister... we should have said this first. Before she goes back to the past, she finds out her sister's opening a restaurant, and after a failed bakery...
It's like a food truck
cafe or something.
Like,
and so Cheryl's really kind of like, oh, I wish you wouldn't do that because, you're going to fail again. And she's not really supporting her sister. And so when she winds up back in the past, and she, obviously is about shocked, and she runs into George, her old high school rival George. And she, collapses in his arms because she's so shocked about what happens. And she sort of confides in him, hey, what's that? I just time traveled. But of course, he doesn't believe her. And, their rivalry continues. And then she goes home to her parents' house, which is actually her old house. And it's all about her finding out that she's not where she's supposed to be and all of that. And then she decides, well, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to make different decisions that will change my future, and then I wouldn't be unhappy in the job that I was at. And she tries to talk to her sister about not getting involved in certain businesses and tries to push her into real estate. And, she's kind of not really supportive. And she starts spending a lot of time with George, who is a middle school science teacher. And with the help of her mentor, Miss Nelson, who in the present is actually deceased, but in the past, she is still very much alive, and she helps Cheryl, that she's going to help out George with this science club, and they, teach kids sciencey stuff, and they spend time together and realize, their rivalry was born not of animosity, but they both respected each other, and
a little bit of love.
They really liked each other. And George admits that when she went off to college, he missed her, and she says, "Well, I missed you too." And they have this animosity relationship. There's parts of it that are kind of cute. And then she decides she meets the fated meeting with this boss happens, and she's trying to turn down the job. But then he makes her see that without her, all of the work that she's done, all of the projects that she's ended up funding would never happen. So then she's guilted into taking the job. So she does take the job, and she's going to tell George how he feels about her. But then the carousel magically appears, and she gets on it, and she's yelling from the carousel, "George, I'm falling in love with you!" And then it goes around, and she's back in her own time.
Back to the future.
In the same job where literally nothing has changed. But then George finds her. He's been waiting for her for 5 years now.
Yep.
They kiss. They go back to her parents. They spend Christmas together. She she gets to keep her job and stay where she is, and gets a job as a professor at the local college. And that is Christmas Comes Twice.
Classic Heidi pen drop.
That's how you know the recap's almost done.
Okay, let's do a review now.
Okay, it's rating time.
It's rating time. All right, things I didn't like. She was like a horrible like big sister. Like I didn't know she was like coming from a place of like wanting to help her sister, like not make these mistakes of the failed business. But like she's like wasn't even listening to what she wanted.
Well, and the whole thing was she wasn't listening, and she's like, "Well, you're a people person. Let's play to your strengths. Go into real estate."
Like
she just kept shoving real estate brochures at her.
Like I thought that was pretty rough. Like she had very little conviction in this movie. Like she was like, I'm gonna make these changes, and then she'd be like wishy-washy on like making those changes. And it was just kind of just I just didn't care for it throughout the movie. It just felt that she wasn't like driven by one certain thing, and she just kept kind of changing her mind throughout. I thought was so things I liked in this movie. The time travel carousel, that was fantastic. I didn't know what the vehicle of time travel was going to be.
It wasn't a clock.
Wasn't a clock, wasn't a DeLorean, nor a phone booth. It was a carousel. So I like that. And then
or any Tony Stark creation. That would have been better.
Yeah. With the help of Ant-Man, that would have made this movie so much better. Other things that I thought were interesting
so cool.
or liked, when she got into like trying to turn down the job or not wanting the job, like he took it as like she was playing hardball. She's like, all right, we'll work on more money. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. She's like, what if I said I slept at my desk? She's like, oh, you're funny. Like everything she said, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. She's like, I'm not a people person. I don't work well with others. She's like, that's great because like that's what we're looking for. So like I thought that was like great in that regard. But it was kind of frustrating because if you didn't want the job, just say you didn't want the job.
No. She was trying to like sabotage the interview.
Right.
Just say no.
But it did make sense. So like I was going into it like that. I'm like, we'll just turn down the whole job. But it makes sense because in those 5 years, all the things that she would have approved, like he makes it click to her that like maybe these wouldn't, like whoever would have got this job might have been some sort of like bureaucrat in the back pockets of somebody else lining money for the wrong reasons. So
yeah, I will say they gave her a compelling reason.
That was like really good reason to do that. And then the other thing I absolutely hated is that like
you're all over the place.
5 years later, he just waited around. So like she says he loves him. Then 5 years take place. She's back off the carousel. And he's there. And he's like, I waited for you. It's like, what do you mean you waited? 5 years ago. You could have called her up. Like,
right.
But then in this part, like, she was home a couple years in those 5 years. Because it was only that last year she wasn't home. Because that's the one she missed when the teacher died.
At some point come home.
Right.
For the holidays or Thanksgiving and all that. Yeah. 3
of those years right after that event. Then didn't come home when the teacher died, and then was home on the 5th was when this damn thing happened. So, like, it makes no sense. So, it's a half a candy cane.
Oh, my God. That was abrupt.
Bad. So bad.
Wow. That was abrupt.
Yeah.
All right, listen. Let's just say this isn't going well. The things that I liked, the mom made the dad Santa pancakes. I thought that was fun. Her date with Terrence, there's this guy in her that she had gone on a date with 5 years ago that went totally sideways. She like spilled stuff on him and he was allergic to, so she's like, this time I'm gonna make the date really work. And it was a total train wreck. Like Terrence is a total idiot, and I just thought it was really funny. When Trish, her sister, tells her to back the hell off, I was like, go Trish, like way to stand up for yourself. George, when he tells her that, hey, maybe I missed you a little bit when you left. I thought that was cute. Things that I absolutely hated, that she never supported her sister. And it really annoyed me. She meets her sister for a Christmas brunch and just criticizes all of her life choices. And then she doesn't even give her brunch. She just leaves after a cup of coffee and says, I gotta go.
Right.
The science, the science club. They're supposed to be on Christmas break.
Yes.
And their science club is still meeting?
Yes, for kids that are really into science.
I find that difficult to believe. There's not enough of George in this movie. George was like a really good thing in this movie, and he just wasn't in it enough. Miss Nelson was great, but she has a line in here where she's talking because, what's her name? Cheryl, she's trying to help out with these kids, and she finds out she's just not really great with kids. She's not a good teacher. And Miss Nelson gives her some tips on how to create reach children and blah, blah, blah. And she does it in the next scene. And then Miss Nelson says, that's the magic of science.
Yeah, that is the magic of science.
The magic of science.
What's wrong with the magic of science?
They don't really, I don't know. The whole problem with this movie is there was absolutely no reason for the time travel whatsoever. It did nothing to change the future. And if she would have just stayed where she is, she could have gone home and still ended up with George at the end. Nothing changed. Nothing. There was absolutely 0 point to the time travel whatsoever. And the fact that nothing actually happened in this movie, nothing changed, nothing happened. The only thing that happened is she fell in love with George, which she certainly could have done in the present. And it didn't make any sense that George fell in love with her and then waited 5 years to reach out to her. Like, she would have known that I don't know. I don't know. This doesn't make any sense.
Do you know why they call it the present? Because it's a gift.
It's a gift. The whole time travel thing made no sense. It made no sense. Like, I get it. There's too many. There's just too many holes. This is more plot holes than an Endgame, and I can't. So this movie was bad, but I really did like George. I found him really funny, actually.
But so how many candy canes?
I'm getting there. I just don't know. I'm on the struggle bus here because I don't know if it's better than Timeless Christmas or not. I just don't know. So I'm going to give it 1.5 candy canes for a total score of 2.
It's 2 whole candy canes.
For Christmas Comes Twice.
Should have only come once.
It should not have come.
All right. We're going to give you the last preview.
Yay!
Coming up next.
All right. So this is the last movie, the 23rd movie that we are reviewing. Thank the Lord. This is a lot of work.
It is.
So we are going to be reviewing A Christmas Carousel, starring Rachel Boston and Neil Bledsoe. So when Lila is hired by the royal family of Ancadia to restore their carousel, another carousel-inspired movie, as a surprise present for the prince's niece, she works side by side with the prince. And along the way, they learn they're more similar than, I don't know. I'm sure they fall in love. It's going to be great.
It's got some royals. It's got a carousel that may or may not.
Rachel Boston is cute as a button, and I think I like Neil Bledsoe. I'm pretty sure I like him, but I don't know. We'll see.
We're gonna do that one,
and hopefully it's better. The last one.
All right.
And you know what?
Nice.